Judge
You
Tamika.
call me Judge Lane, Timika, call me whatever. It's all good.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted to first and foremost just tell you a little bit about Weston Power, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and educate us on the importance of local offices. So Weston Power is a nonprofit organization, grassroots, with the spirit of giving back with unity, support, and education. We had found that, our community was not coming out in the local elections, and coming out in the presidential election, which is not the most important election in our lives. So I'm very thrilled to have you. I'm honored to have you here to educate us a little bit more about what, the who, the what, the where, and the why. Okay. If you don't have any questions, let's get started.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so my very first question to you is, who are you?
I am Claire's daughter, specifically, but I was born and raised in this part of Philadelphia. It's called the Bottom. It's like the other side of the tracks for those who are not familiar with it. But it is in West Philly, like the freshman said, he was from West Philly, so am I. And although I wasn't born with a silver spoon, what we had in the Bottom was a strong sense of community. I was born back in the day when everybody knew their neighbors. If you did something wrong, somebody down the street gonna correct it before you even make it to the door, and then you're gonna have to deal with it when you get home as well. So that's the community I was born and raised. My grandmother worked in the cafeteria. My mother is now a retired police detective. And my grandmother had an open door. Anybody in need, they were always at my grandma's house. If they were hungry, if they needed anything, they always knocked on her door. And we didn't have a lot, but my grandmother sure knew how to stretch it. Right. And she and my mother instilled such a strong sense of service in me. My grandmother would always be like, oh, it ain't about you, honey. It ain't about you, child, or whatever she chose to throw on the end of that word. The gist was, it ain't about you. And she's right. It's never been about me. And that's why I've lived my life of service. I was a school teacher before I was even a lawyer. I taught public school, 7th grade social studies.
Wow. Yeah. And so now I know you've been doing, the hard work at the Common Pleas as a Common Pleas judge for some time now. So can you tell us why Superior Court?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Terry. So I got elected in 2013 to the Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia. And I was immediately thrust in one of the busiest courtrooms in Philly. And I'm assigned to the criminal division. Within 5 months, I was promoted to be one of 5 judges who heard family violence and sexual assault cases. And that's why even to this day, a large part of my docket still consists of family and domestic violence and sexual assault. And I am a major trials judge, meaning that I hear jury trials and I hear bench trials. Bench trials are when you have a trial where the judge makes the decision. And I am the only judge who hears human trafficking cases. And of course, as a major trial judge, I hear, motions, I do sentencing and all of that. And the Superior Court it's an appellate court, and they deal with criminal law, civil law, and family, anything dealing with children. And they look at errors that were made in the trial court specifically where I sit on the Court of Common Pleas. And 70% of those cases are actually criminal cases that they hear that make up the Superior Court's docket. And for most Pennsylvanians, that's where your case stops. The Supreme Court, they're not going to take most of those cases. Your cases are going to stop in that Superior Court. And the Superior Court it's a really narrow, specific law where you're looking at errors of the trial court. And who best can do that than someone who sat on that bench day in and day out, zipped up that black robe, and made those hard decisions that have a direct impact on people's lives. And not only just those people, but the people who care about those people. It's a ripple effect, as we all know. And looking at the courts in general, the appellate courts in Pennsylvania, there are 3 appellate courts: the Supreme Court, which of course is the top and the final say of Pennsylvania law. And then we have 2 intermediate courts. We had a Superior Court, in which I am seeking, as well as the Commonwealth Court. And the Commonwealth deals with, state agencies, it deals with election law, things of that nature. And the Superior Court for me is a natural progression because I'm a trial judge doing it day in and day out. And that is exactly the areas of law that I have practiced as a seasoned trial attorney. I was a public defender. I was a child advocate where I went in court advocating on behalf of the child. I done civil. I've done all areas of law that the Superior Court does, and that's why it's the natural progression. And when we look at the makeup of the court, out of these 3 courts with over 30 judges combined on these courts, there's only one African American on all of these courts, and it's Judge Carolyn Nichols, who is on the Superior Court currently.
Wow. Because I wanted to ask, because several things, what amazed me when I was, reading about you was that you are now correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the only judge that looks over child trafficking.
I do human trafficking. That is true in the adult criminal court. Yes, I am. I'm the only one assigned to that. But I also think it's important when we look at these courts, because I mentioned how Judge Nichols is the only one. When we're looking at diversity, not even just, color. Obviously, I'm a Black woman, but we need to look at real life experience. You know what I mean? I come from the bottom. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I'm first generation college. I'm first generation law school. I know what it's like to work 3 jobs. I live paycheck to paycheck. I know what it's like to beat cancer. Like, we need someone who can bring their real life experiences to this and approach it that way.
Yeah. And you have mentioned Judge Nichols a couple of times, and I want to make sure that everyone is hearing, because one of my questions to you was, there's 15 superior
court judges.
Judges. And can you tell us one more time how many is women and how many is women of color?
Judge Nichols is the only one. She is the only one. She is, yes.
Wow.
She's the only woman of color on all of the appellate benches, on all 3.
Wow. And I want to also, make sure that I go back to why Western Power we do our educational community civic series, and the importance of what you just said, and how we have a chance right now to make some changes in Pennsylvania that is extremely important, and this will affect us for decades to come. So I want to make sure that we are truly clear about what's going on with these Superior Court seats and our Common Court Pleas seats. So I want to say thank you so much for bringing that, bringing that up, of the women of color, and how many women, because that's extremely important. My next question to you is, now you were on, again, when I was reading about you were on the front lines for challenging PA's photo ID law. Can you go into that a little bit more and tell us exactly what was that about, and what was some of the outcomes of that?
Okay, so I used to work in the Pennsylvania Senate, and I was the Democratic Executive Director of the State Government Committee. And as such, when the photo ID law was introduced, it actually came through the State Government Committee, as well as that gerrymander map later declared unconstitutional. And that photo ID law that came through was one of the most repressive in the country at that time. And it really impacted marginalized communities much more than everyone else. And that was a huge problem. I mean, and it wasn't just poor people, it was seniors. I mean, LGBTQ plus. I mean, it affected so many communities. And I had the privilege and honor of drafting the amendments that the Democratic caucus introduced to try to minimize the impact it had on these marginalized communities. The amendments, most of them were not successful, obviously, and then it went on to pass through the Republican-controlled Senate, and it was later declared unconstitutional.
Wow. And when I read that, I was like, this is something I want to ask about, so I can get a more understanding of the power of your frontline experience. So I definitely thank you for that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. My next question to you is, sometimes we in the community, it seems or sounds like Superior Court is something way above our heads, out of our reach. Can you help us understand the importance, the value of knowing who is our Superior Court judges?
Mm-hmm. And that's a great question. And I alluded to it earlier, how the Superior Court is often the final say for most people in Pennsylvania, because the Supreme Court will not hear those cases. Anybody who goes to trial and they lose and they want to appeal, it goes to the Superior Court. If you were in court and let's say that you're a parent and child services comes, they take your kids and you think you were wronged, you can appeal. If you're in a horrific accident or, medical malpractice and, you lost someone and you want to appeal that jury, but all that stuff goes to the Superior Court. The Superior Court is really where your voice is heard on appeal. Because like I said, the Supreme Court is not going to take it. And that's why it's so important that we have people on that court who have a diversity of experiences, not only just of color, but I was born and raised in the bottom, the other side of the track. I know this, like I told you, to live paycheck to paycheck, working 3 jobs. I'm a single mom, all of these different things. I think we need to look at that because these are the people making a decision on your case. So you bring who you are to the bench.
And that's so important. That is so important because like you said, experience in these various different realms is so important. So I want to say thank you so much for, bringing that up as well. And my next question was, and I think you really touched on it. And if you wanted to touch on it a little bit more, but I believe you did touch on it that we can understand. But I want to ask you, PA Supreme Court, PA Superior Court, what's the difference? I think you spoke on it, but if you had a little bit more to say on it, I welcome you on that as well.
The Supreme Court, they have, if you get convicted of the death penalty, you have a direct appeal to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, they take cases of huge impact to Pennsylvania. For example, in this last election cycle, the Commonwealth Court, which deals with election law, they gave Trump some victories, his only victories throughout America, throughout the country. And then they were appealed to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court overturned them and allowed mail-in ballots and allowed, whatever happened. So the Supreme Court, they really deal with higher level cases that have an impact across the whole state. And the Superior Court, again, because it's the final say for so many Pennsylvanians in court, people often cite Superior Court cases. And that's what you do, in your arguments when you're trying to say that this is wrong or the procedure was wrong or this is right. And that case supports your position.
And thank you so much. Because like I said, a lot of times we feel that, the court that you're running for, the PA Superior Court, we sometimes we can feel like that is so above us. That is so, how do I reach that? And the way that you're breaking it down is exactly, step by step of exactly the importance of, first of all, the PA Superior Court and how what it actually deals with. So thank you so much for that.
No problem.
Yes. So my next question is, and of course I read up, like I said, I read up on you, so I know the answer, but I want you to educate our listeners on, have you ever done any pro bono cases? And if so, why and what was that like? And my question with what was that like? Was it a feeling of gratitude or was a feeling of, I got to do this pro bono? Can you share that with us?
I actually have done a lot of pro bono cases. I did domestic violence cases pro bono. I actually did bankruptcy cases pro bono because so many times in our communities, when I say Black and brown, we are afflicted with financial difficulties, and sometimes you file bankruptcy and you don't know how, or you don't know the benefits to you and things of that nature. And that's what I liked about it, because when I first started doing it, I looked around and realized, because I did it through a clinic, and I realized so many people came in the door looking like me. And it was really eye-opening for me to do that. And of course, obviously, domestic violence victims, just trying to help them navigate through the system and have their voices heard. So they were equal and important, but they were very different.
And you named two very pro bono situations. Domestic violence is of course, the money and everything is like the last thing that they're thinking of, and a lot of times, just don't have it. And
that's what I was about to say. They just can't afford it, especially,
yeah.
in marginalized communities, for immigrants, for Black and brown people, for poor people. I mean, there are a lot of people who, even in rural areas, they don't even have access to some of those services. So I think that is very important that we talk about that and the need for people to take those cases pro bono. Wow. Especially if you fled and you oftentimes left everything you had behind. Yeah. You definitely don't have money for an attorney.
Exactly.
Or to help you navigate through the system with your with your child custody issues or whatever issues may arise.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. And we talked about the 15 PA Superior Court judges. And you educated us on, how many was women. The sad fact of, you educated us on the sad fact of how many are women and how many
I just educated you, I'm sorry, on just the Black women. You want me to take my glasses off here? Do I have a glare from the computer? Or can you see
you're
my
fine.
eyes?
I mean, you're fine.
Okay.
You're
all right,
fine.
As long as you can see my eyes.
Yes, I can. We can see.
I don't want to look like I got these cool sunglasses on,
No, you're fine. You are fine. Yes. Okay. Yes.
But no, the court has, I believe it's 5 men on the court and the rest are female, but Judge Nichols is the only person of color, the only Black woman, only person of color, period.
Oh, okay. So there's 10 women on Superior.
Well, right now on the court, there are currently 14 people on the court because there is one vacancy, it's a Republican vacancy, and that's what I'm running to fill in this election because it's only 1 seat for Superior Court, and me running and trying to fill this seat, I'm going to just claim it. When we win, we're going to flip the Superior Court and it will be blue. It will be in Democratic control. So it's really an important election for Superior Court.
Now, see, I'm so glad that you brought that up because honestly, I did not know that part of the importance of, what's going on right now. That's another reason why I love doing these educational community civic series, because we learn something new every time. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. So you keep messing. You want to take your glasses off?
No, they slipped a little bit because I'm trying to do the angle so you don't get as much glare, and then they start to slide down. But I don't have no fancy ones like you. My stuff is
no. So I'm gonna share with you, and I'm gonna share with everyone, all of our followers, everyone that's listening. $10.99. And I take them to my doctor and get the prescription in them.
Oh, I like that. That's smart. That's what I need to do.
Yeah, VOOGOOME. That's the eyeglass place. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So my next question to you, I have a couple more questions. And we're going along pretty good with time. So I want to ask you, why you? Why are you so unique for this PA Superior Court judge seat?
Well, first of all, why not? I mean, you've heard about who I am. You heard what I bring to the table. I am very unique. Again, from the way I was raised, how I was raised. I'm first generation college. I'm first generation law school. I'm a single mom. I was raised by a single mother. And I know what it's like to be a member of a marginalized community. I am a Black woman. I also have the experience on both sides of the bench. I'm the only one running who can say that. I have extensive trial court experience as well as an attorney and as a judge. And I would bring all of who I am to the bench.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, I have 2 more questions for you. Only 2 more. So there may be some questions that I did not ask, that we did not go over, and somebody may have some questions for you that they would like to, or a topic that they would like to conversate with you about. Can you tell us, how can somebody get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can just go to my website, judgelane.com, and then it's a part in there that you can click on and send a message. And I don't know if a number is on there. It used to be, I don't know. But you can definitely go on there and you can connect with me that way. I'm on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. So you can find me, send a message out. I'm here.
Okay. And my last question to you is, so I already asked you, what was so unique about you. And I wanted to, my last question to you is, if there is anything that you would like to say before we wrap up, can you share that with us? What would you like to say before we wrap up?
I want to emphasize the importance of electing judges, because in Pennsylvania, all our judges are elected, and we can't sit around complaining about outcomes of things, or if we don't do anything about it. You have to educate yourself on who is running and who to vote for. A lot of people are not even, sadly to say, paying attention to the judicial race. They don't even know what's going on right now, and that we're going to be on this ballot on May 18th. But judges on the Court of Common Pleas, we have a direct impact on people's life, their liberty, their children, and their money.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Yeah.
So we really need to know who we're sending it. Yeah. And then on the Superior Court and on all these appellate courts, the Commonwealth is a little unique, but they are looking at what happened at the trial and looking at it through their lens. So we need to figure out who we are electing, so that when they're looking at this case through their lens, for legal errors, that they are representing or either have similar life experiences rather that we have, and they can understand who we are. And I will give you a prime example. I was doing this case as a judge, because I hear trials all the time, and it was a Black lady. She was testifying, and they were like, "Well, when did?" She's like, "Well, how long did this happen?" She's like, "Oh, it was going on for a minute." And then the district attorney was like, "Okay, so it was only a minute." And she was like, "No, I happened for like a minute." But we know in the Black community, a minute is for a while.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that you have people there who understand those distinctions, because in that case, that time period really matters. So just even down to language.
Yeah. Wow. So important. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is so true. And, like you just said, the way that it affects a person's life. And that's what we've been saying here at West Empower through the whole civic series, is that, right now, these seats affect a person, affect a family, affect people, affect the community. This is so important. And it is so unique, the time that we are in right now, that we really have a chance to make change for decades to come. So, I'm hoping that everybody understands this, and then tell somebody else to get involved, do the research, look up, and just don't, sometimes we can say, "Oh, he's so nice. Oh, she's so nice." Oh, no, we got to do some research about what's going on with the people that we are ready to put on these seats, that is ready to affect our lives and our children's lives and our neighbors' lives for decades to come.
That's right.
And I want to say thank you so much for, bringing that up as well. And so, so before we say good night and we wrap up, or is that all you have to say? Are you done for tonight?
Well, I just appreciate you so much for having me. I was excited to be here. You are wonderful. And I'm just so glad that your program exists, so you can educate people and make them aware. Because I'm sure there are going to be some people watching like, I didn't even know it was a judicial race. I don't even know what judges do. Why does it matter if you vote for me? And I really think that you are doing a huge service to the community and to people. And I'm just so grateful for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you as well. And so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Judge Tamika Lane, running for the PA Superior Court Judge. And please look her up and get more information. If there's a question that I did not ask, or if there's something that you would like to talk to her about, she gave you how to get in touch with her, all her social media connections. Please reach out, get educated, and let's make a difference together. Good night, everyone.